Good evening and welcome to Technique Talk, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica, where we talk about the things that nobody else wants to talk about here on Technique Talk. Welcome to the show. I'm Coach David Riley, and I will be happy to discuss with you some things that happened at the World Championships today, day 3, done and dusted. Titled as the superheroes of athletics. That's what this World Championships is portraying. The athletes on track doing their thing, in the field doing their thing, and it has been indeed a spectacle. Lots of predictions leading up to the championships, and of course many of them have not really come to realize, based on what we had expected and based on what persons were hoping would happen. But here it is, the end of day 3. We have to run the races, we have to get everybody to show up, and then the medals are given out. So there's some interesting things that happen every single day, and we're happy to share some of those things with you and then get the discussion going. And of course, the World Championships is not just about how fit an athlete is. It's not just about how fast an individual is, or how strong, or how far they can jump or throw. It's more than that. There's a component that is very important that sometimes many persons don't seem to appreciate the importance or the weight of that aspect. And that has to do with the mental aspect of competing in the biggest competition there is for an athlete. The mental component of competing is so huge. I am shocked that persons are still trying to give people a pass to say, well, oh, you know, they're young, oh, this is their first time, oh, they're new, I'm not into that. I'm not giving anybody any pass. You know why I'm not giving anybody any pass? Because it is well established that to participate at the highest level, an individual must not only be physically prepared, but must also be mentally ready for the intensity of that particular stage. That is known. So I'm still not sure why persons are showing up, having done the physical preparation to attain the qualifying standards, the rigorous qualifying standards I might add, to get into the various events, and then ignore the most important aspect when it comes to this level of competition. Because it's not just about how physically fit you are, but if you don't have the mental toughness, then you won't really make it. So what are these World Championships about? These World Championships are about finding who the best people are. The world champion, you're trying to determine who the best is in the world. That's why we run the races. Who is the best athlete? Is the best athlete the one who is physically better only? Or is the one who is physically prepared and equally mentally prepared? We have to be both physical and mental in terms of our preparation. And this is very important that we understand this particular concept, because I'm not going to give anybody any pass whatsoever. It's very important that all athletes and coaches, when you are preparing yourself for the World Championships, you want to parade your skills at the highest level, you must be ready to play the mental game. There is no way you're going to get away with just focusing on how fast you run. There's no way you're going to get away with that. You must be paying attention to the other aspects, the mental side of it, that will determine who the best athlete is. It is not any secret that this is a requirement. You can't get away with it. You won't be able to just get away with not doing enough mentally. This is known. The strategy, the tactics, the practice, the visualization, the mental toughness, the emotions, all of these things play into developing or determining who the best athlete is. There is no question about that. So, why are athletes showing up mentally unprepared? What do you expect? What do you expect to happen when you're lined up against the fastest people in the world? What do you expect? For it to be cool and calm? You expect that you won't be nervous? I bet you even the starter is nervous. Everybody watching at home nervous, and they're not running. So why would you not be nervous? Why are you showing up at the line with your sub-10 speed, but nowhere near is your mental toughness and your preparedness? I am not really prepared to give any athlete who desires to be in that race, the most intense race, where the medals are decided and distributed, I am not prepared to give any athlete a pass who ignores the mental toughness required to be at that start line. We need to stop giving athletes a pass. We need to stop making it seem as though it is not important and that they can get away with doing less than what is required and to show up as if the mental part is not required to be the best in the game. You must engage the professionals in this area. Get with a sports psychologist. You must be preparing yourself. You have to. You have to develop the mental muscle. You have to develop the mental skills even as you try to hone your physical skills. And I don't see why in 2023 that we're still at the point where athletes are not prepared for the intensity of the competition they desire to be in. You know what the physical requirements are. Why are you ignoring the mental part, the practicing of that, the execution of that, so that you can compete fiercely at this level? There is no way we're going to give any athlete, anybody, we're not making any excuses. In fact, there is no excuse box in the call room for athletes to submit their excuse for why they were not able to perform the way that they performed. There's no way. So, I just wanted to get on my rant about that because, you know, a lot of talk has been going on about how the athletes are feared and how, you know, we need to just give people, but we've seen the difference between what athletes who prepare themselves mentally. I remember a situation, and I use this as an example of the biggest example of mental toughness that I've ever seen. So we're in London, and World Championships 2017. And I decided that I wanted to go into the stadium to see Usain Bolt's last race. This was his last World Championship. I wanted to see that race. So I went inside the stadium. And as I sat there, left the warm-up area and went to the stadium. And I sat there, and so they were calling out the lanes, and they called lane 4, I think he was in. Lane 8. Justin Gatlin. And the stadium goes boo. The entire London stadium booed the guy. I mean, they booed him in the heats, they booed him in the semifinals, and in the finals, when they called his name, they booed him again. And he's standing there, listening to the entire stadium booing him. The starter says, on your marks, And they have this thing on the screen that says shh to quiet down the stadium. And they go on their marks. And when the stadium goes silent, some dude somewhere in the stadium, if you've been to Queen Elizabeth Stadium in London, it's acoustically, it's great. And somebody shouts out, "Gatlin, you're a drug cheat!" And everywhere you sat in that stadium, anywhere you sat, you could hear what the guy said. When the stadium was fully quiet. Set. Oh, the gun sends him off. And Gatlin, after being booed, after being heckled, after being harassed mentally, Gatlin ran and beat Bolt and beat Christian Coleman. Win, world champion, world champion. That's the biggest example of mental toughness that I've seen on the track. How could you, I mean, most people be like, "Oh my gosh, I mean, why are they booing me? I've served my time, I did my ban, and I'm back, and, you know, give me a fair chance." Why me? I've done my time. I mean, Gatlin could say that. Some people would say that too. I mean, how many persons could take all of that negative energy? I said the entire stadium booed him. Could take that negative energy and convert it to the point where you deliver your best performance and beat your main rivals. That is the kind of mental toughness that you need to run at the World Championships. Anything less is not going to work. So I'm not prepared to give any athlete, and I say to coaches and I say to athletes, get yourself mentally prepared for the biggest stage. The medals are only issued in the most intense competition, whether it be boys and girls champs. It's when the race is hot. It's that race. They don't give out medals in the heats. It's when the race is intense. So if you're not prepared mentally to deal with the intensity, step aside. You're wasting your time if you're only preparing physically. If you don't have any mental preparation, you will not make it in far. You're just going to break people's hearts. And then you end up being seen as somebody that just doesn't deliver under pressure. Get yourself ready and do what you're supposed to do. So I've been talking a bit about that, the mental side of the game. And of course, quite a bit of other things happened today. Some highlights, Roshawn Clarke setting a world under 20 record in the 400 meter hurdles. That was indeed a great performance by him, and we lift our hats off to Roshawn Clarke and that particular performance, which indeed we're really happy for him to have performed in that way and deliver a world record in the semifinals of the 400 meter hurdles for men. And of course, we're very excited about what Roshawn Clarke did, and we applaud him. One more round to go, the finals, where he has to race some of the best in the sport ever, in the event, to get a medal. And he's done so much already. He's only 19 years old, and he's really done a lot. 47.34 seconds his time. Amazing to think that an under 19 athlete can run that fast. And of course, no one ever in the history of the sport at his age has, and that's why he has the world record. The other highlight, of course, which a bigger highlight than, well, I shouldn't say bigger highlight, another highlight would be Hansel Parchment's bronze medal in the silver medal in the 110 meter hurdles, 13.07 seconds, keeping the Jamaicans on the podium, well, earning Jamaica's first medal in these championships. A great race. Left it a bit too late, but that's typical Hansel Parchment. Working on the first part of his race, and of course, sometimes for hurdles, getting the length of the strides and getting to the takeoff point is the concern for most of the athletes. And the coaching cues, most times, is where you're taking off from. So 7 strides, you must take off from this point. And the concern might be really to get to the correct takeoff point rather than necessarily to be fast to the takeoff point. Sometimes you can't get both, and that's why you practice so many times to be fast and still be at the correct point. Because the faster you're going, the quickness may very well result in the stride being shorter, and the stride being shorter, you're going to be further from the hurdle, and then it kind of mess up your race, because then you're going to be jumping to get over that hurdle. You might hit that first hurdle, and then it kind of affects where you are and how you clear the other hurdles. And of course, even though you're faster than the blocks, you're still hitting them all the way down. So he's working on those things, and when he gets it right, it's amazing. And he'll certainly be sub 13 this season, based on how he's been progressing and looking. So that was a highlight. Of course, the big heartbreak came from Jaden Hibbert being unable to compete in a triple jump. Not sure, we haven't seen the medical reports or get any information about that, other than the fact that we saw on his first attempt, just the stride just before the board, he developed some problems, grabbed the hamstring, I think it was the right hamstring, and was unable to continue the competition. Sought some medical attention, but interestingly, there are very few things that could be done at that point, depending on what the problem is. So, we're hoping that at least by passing the second jump, there'll be enough time for him to come back based on what the situation is and make the third attempt. But that was not to be. So Jaden, lots of opportunities after this, and our disappointment, we share in your disappointment, I should say, and in fact we're hoping that you would have been able to deliver a great performance today, but that was not to be. So of course I got quite a few messages from persons talking about how long the difference in terms of time given between the semifinals and the finals of the men's 100 meters versus the difference in time given between the semifinals and the finals of the women's 100 meters. And based on the schedule, of course, the females got less time to recover between the semifinals and the finals than the males. And I got quite a few messages from persons saying that, this is not fair, why they, gave the women less time, and isn't there some competition rule that, that's being broken here. And of course, there's no competition rule. Event schedules are based on the LOC. Of course, the schedule is reviewed by World Athletics Competitions Commission or Competitions Department, but the LOC, through their technical people, would actually be the ones to set up the schedule and then present that. And most times, the time between the semifinals and the finals depends on which events are scheduled during that slot. So you don't want a lot of downtime because, of course, it's a televised event. So it depends on which events are in between the semifinals and the finals that would really affect how much rest time those athletes get. So it was actually quite unfortunate that the women end up with less time than the males. But here what happened? The schedule has been out for almost a year. So everybody knew beforehand what the schedule really is. And part of the reason why World Athletics is not interested in making certain modifications, especially for people who are competing in multiple events, is that they're saying, look here, the schedule is made known to you. You know what the schedule is before, so you determine how much work you want to give yourself. It is you who determine which events you participate in, with full disclosure as to what the schedule is, what the order of events, really what it's set up to be. So you kind of walk into it. So persons should have known before, and so you make preparations within your team setup to deal with this fast turnaround, right? I was a bit concerned that this queue room that they have was delayed when the athletes would return back to their team tents to get their recovery going in preparation for the finals. I mean, that queue room was really costing people like a good 10 minutes. And 10 minutes can make a big difference, you know? So I was a little concerned with that, but, you know, persons survived that and went on. So yes, there was a difference between how long the women got versus how long the men got, and the men got more time. So there's not much we can do about that. The second thing, next thing I want to talk about, is the fact that there seems to be some issue with these starters. Am I the only person observing that the starters seem to want to star the show? Like I don't know how long you're going to hold people on their marks. The 400 hurdles, crosses. I mean, the disqualification of the athletes in the 400 meter hurdles for false start, goodness gracious, you were holding people so long. You have the nerve to be giving people a red card for holding people for so long on their marks. It's unconscionable, right? It's wrong. I mean, the procedures that you're executing at the start line to check for whose hand is behind line. Come on, you should have more staff doing that and get better signaling so that the race can start much faster. This is crazy what's going on. And I've been listening to the start of the voices, trying to study the voices, to see if in fact it's the same starter between heat 1 and the same starter heat 2. I've been listening. From time to time I hear the female starter come in, and her voice is very distinctive. On your marks. I don't know if you've been listening to her. She's very, she pronounces her words very carefully and very completely. And but I'm trying to listen to see if it's the same voice, and I don't want to make a declaration that it seems to be changing starters between heat 1 and heat 2. It's crazy if that's the case. But they have at least 4 starters there, international starters, and they seem to be wanting to star the show. Just like people don't want to make any mistakes, they're overdoing it. And holding the starters too long, holding people in a set position too, almost like you want somebody to false start. I'm not even sure what that rhythm is. You know, it's crazy. They're causing people to false start. And I'm really a bit ticked off about that. The other thing I noticed as well, that post-race, the athletes get into the mixed zone, and an official is handing them a bottle of water. Like, seriously? I'm not, in this day and age with drug testing, the athletes are supposed to take their own bottle. You put them out, and the athlete randomly select which bottle they want. Taking a bottle from an official is a no-no. I mean, I saw Dina Asher-Smith just grab the bottle and just pull it, and she didn't even check to see if it was sealed. I mean, yeah, I hear you about we should be able to trust officials and so on, but not at this level. I think the athletes should be allowed to take up their own hydration and not be handed a bottle of hydration from an official, because you are responsible for anything that is found in your system. The strict liability rules for doping control or for doping violation, you can't say you aren't responsible. No. So the entire operation should allow for the athlete to be able to say, well, put out the bottles and let the athletes take them up themselves. That's what should happen, and not have officials handing people bottles of water. So that being said, we can now move to maybe the hottest discussion, and that has to do with the 100-meter women's finals. Wow, what a race that was. And you know, you kind of get the sense it was like a race within a race. So there was a race between the Jamaicans, and then there was a race. So it seems like Sharika and Shelly were racing. Sharika, and this is just my take, Sharika seemed to think that she'd already beat Shelly, and so she eased up going into the finish line. Now we're not making any I'm not making any excuses. I'm not making any excuses because the race is 100 meters. And in fact, you should run 105 meters when you run a 100 meters. I mean, you run 5 meters for the line. So, but it seems, I'm telling you what, from my observation, what it seemed to have been. Richardson is out in lane 9 or lane 8, way outside. She's in her own zone. And I know athletes who don't like to run outside. They seem to be too far from the action. But she was just running her race, not even aware of what's going on the inside. And in fact, it would seem that she didn't really care about what was going on inside. Now, Sharika may have been watching the screen. I have to watch back the replay. But coming through the line, beating Shelly, thinking that you've already won the goal because Shelly is the one that's closest to you in terms of your eye, you know, your peripheral vision. But somebody out in the outside lane was running straight through the line. Athletes, you have to run all the way through the line. Have to. If you don't do that, you stand the chance of being nipped on the line by someone, either on your inside, far inside, or your far outside, who's doing what you're supposed to do anyway, which is running all the way through the line. So, this is what I observe to be the situation. And it's unfortunate that at this stage that we have athletes who don't execute completely their race. And then, of course, the results actually reflects, and usually the results will reflect the athletes who executed based on their fitness and based on the instructions that they were given. So, we have to lick our wounds with this one. Congratulations nonetheless to the two ladies who won the silver for Sharika, and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price winning her bronze medal, not leaving the championships without a medal. They've loved to have gone 6 World Championships titles, but of course that wasn't to be today. So, you know, you live to fight another day, and of course that is the situation for the women's 100-meter finals. And of course, you know, that one definitely the talk of the day in terms of how the athletes did. So the last thing I want to look at here, just the interesting part of the heat maps that the World Athletics team is throwing out using the technology and just playing around with these things. Really interesting stuff, the 400 meters and the 100-meter heat map, showing when the athletes actually hit their top speed. And this was from the semifinals of the women's 100 meters. Shelly-Ann here was the last athlete to reach her top speed. That was about at 25 meters. So she didn't really accelerate as rapidly as the others. And was the last person to reach her top speed at 25 meters thereabout. And of course you can see, of course, the challenge well, the objective in the 100 meters, everybody starts at 0 and they actually accelerate to their max speed, and then the objective from there is to maintain that max speed for the rest of the 100 meters. And of course the theory says that you can only maintain your max speed for 60 meters. So in this case, if you get to your max speed of 25 meters, in the case of Shelley and Fraser Price here, 25 plus 60 would be 85, and then from 85 meters through to the finish line, theoretically you should be slowing down. So if you look at here, the German in lane 1 got to her top speed at, this looks like 15 meters. Then the speed dropped. I don't know, maybe she stumbled. You have to look at that. Let's take the other one. Michelle Ai got to her top speed just about 20 meters. Yeah. And then when she got to about 60 meters, I mean, clearly she's losing a lot of speed here. That's a huge dip there, right about 60 meters. Then she got back up so she might have lost her form. So this is very interesting stuff that athletes and coaches can look back and see what's going on here. So Shelley, very efficient. If you look at Shelley, very efficient. No loss of speed in her maximum velocity phase. So from 25 meters up to 75 meters, that's 50 meters. She literally maintained her top speed. That is the object, and that's why she is the multi-time winning at 100 meters. Look at everybody else's heat map. They're all over the place. They're losing speed. Technically, they're all more than likely. Look at Nita. She's lost speed. She comes back down. Goes. I mean, this is amazing. This information, and in fact, the athletes could find very useful information from this here. So that's what they've been doing with the heat maps there, and we are happy for the technology to allow us to see some of these things and make best use of them. So we're looking forward to a good day tomorrow with the action on the track and in the field. Day 4 is upon us, and we're looking forward to some great action there. Hopefully we can get some medals tomorrow. 3 medals from the Jamaicans. So far, good start. We can't complain too much, and we're happy that we're on the medal table so far. But tomorrow, day 4, the women's 100 meter hurdles heats, and the 800 meter heats, and we come back for the 400 meter hurdles women's semifinals, the men's 400 meter semifinals, and then of course that's an afternoon session tomorrow. So tomorrow, those are the events that we have to pay attention to, that we'll have some presence for the competition. So indeed, it should be a great day for us, and we're looking forward to some good action there from the Team Jamaica. So thank you for joining us. Let me see some comments here in the chat. Okay. Well, yeah, I see some comments here. I guess this must be targeting Richardson. Said that she wasn't worried about lane 9. She was focused on Shelley. Oh, that would have been Sharika. Sharika was focused on Shelley and not on Richardson out in lane 9. And indeed, that was an unfortunate situation for Sharika and for Shelley, because both of them were victims of the lane 9 situation. So bear in mind, we're here every day at 6 o'clock. So join us tomorrow for Technique Talk, where we'll look at things that nobody else wants to talk about. Thank you for joining.